Have you ever wondered why some people walk into a room and instantly capture attention without even saying a word? They don't try to impress. They don't force conversations. And yet somehow, everyone notices them. That is the power of silent attraction. It's not about being the loudest, the most outspoken, or the flashiest. It's about the invisible energy you carry, the way you move, the way you hold yourself, and the way you make others feel without even speaking. Deep down, every person wants to be noticed and valued. You don't crave shallow recognition. You crave respect, admiration, and genuine connection. You want people to look at you and feel something powerful, something unexplainable. That feeling comes from presence, not noise. It comes from the silent confidence that radiates through your energy before you ever open your mouth. And the truth is, people remember presence far more than they remember words. Think about it. Words can be forgotten in seconds, but the impression of someone who carries themselves with unshakable calmness lasts for years. The person who doesn't need to prove themselves, who doesn't need to compete for attention, always stands out. Why? Because silence, when paired with strength, is magnetic. It draws people in naturally. It makes them curious. It makes them lean closer because they sense something different, something rare. Most people live their lives trying too hard to be seen. They talk endlessly. They exaggerate their achievements. They fight for recognition, but in doing so, they drain their energy and push people away. True attractiveness is the opposite. It's about knowing you don't need to convince anyone of your worth. You let your actions, your demeanor, and your energy speak louder than words ever could. That is where silent power begins. When you master the art of being silently attractive, you shift how the world sees you. People start to feel your confidence without you having to declare it. They start to trust you without you having to beg for it. They start to respect you without you having to demand it. You begin to live in a state where your presence alone changes the atmosphere of any room you walk into. And that is not something you fake, it's something you build. This is the reason you need to stay with me until the end. Because there are habits, simple, powerful, proven habits, that transform you into that kind of person. Habits that train your body language, your energy, your emotional control, and your overall presence. These habits don't require you to be the loudest voice in the room. They require you to master yourself. And when you do, people will notice. Not because you forced them to, but because you made them feel something they can't ignore. Imagine being the person others are drawn to without explanation. Imagine having the kind of presence that makes people remember you long after you've left. Imagine no longer chasing attention, but attracting it naturally. That's the power of being silently attractive. It's not about speaking more, it's about speaking less and radiating more. It's about creating an unshakable presence that leaves people wondering who you are and why they can't stop thinking about you. If you've ever felt invisible, overlooked, or unheard, this is your moment to change it. You don't need to be louder. You need to be stronger in silence. Stay with me because what you're about to learn will transform the way people see you, and more importantly, the way you see yourself. Your silent power is waiting to be unlocked. Every human interaction is built on signals most people never notice. Before a single word is spoken, the brain is already making decisions, safe or unsafe, strong or weak, magnetic or forgettable. This judgment happens in seconds, and it has nothing to do with what you say. It has everything to do with the invisible energy you radiate. That's why presence is the foundation of silent attraction. When you learn to control the way you carry yourself, you stop leaving impressions to chance and start shaping them with intention. The truth is, people are wired to respond to energy first and words second. Your body language, your tone, your eye contact, even the rhythm of your breathing. All of it communicates who you are more clearly than sentences ever could. A person who speaks little but radiates calm, certainty, and control will always command more respect than the one who fills silence with noise. Attraction is less about what you give out loudly, and more about what you hold within quietly. You've felt it before, the unspoken pull towards someone who didn't try to impress you. You couldn't explain it, but their presence carried weight. They walked differently, stood differently, and their energy filled the space without effort. That wasn't an accident, it was the psychology of presence at work. Humans are drawn to confidence because it signals safety, leadership, and stability. We are drawn to calmness because it soothes our own nervous system. We are drawn to those who are comfortable in their silence because it reveals strength most people don't possess. This is why silent attraction is so powerful. You don't have to shout to be heard. You don't have to fight to be seen. When you learn to master the signals your body and energy send, People notice you instinctively. They can't explain why, but they remember you. They feel safer around you, more curious about you, more drawn toward you. That's the magnetic force of someone who understands presence. To build this, you must train your awareness. Every time you enter a space, recognize that your energy is being read before you open your mouth. The way you stand, the way you move, the way you carry your gaze. These small details tell people whether you believe in yourself or not. If you slouch, fidget, or shrink, you communicate weakness. If you stand tall, breathe deeply, and remain grounded, you communicate strength. Silence amplifies these signals, making them even more powerful. And here's the real shift. People don't follow noise, they follow certainty. They don't trust those who need constant validation, they trust those who hold steady in themselves. When your silence is fueled by confidence, people lean in. When your presence is calm but powerful, people respect you without hesitation. You become the kind of person others want to be near, not because of what you say, but because of what you project. The reward of mastering presence is freedom. Freedom from needing approval. Freedom from chasing attention. Freedom from trying to prove yourself to anyone. Instead of working for recognition, recognition comes to you. Instead of fighting for space, space opens naturally around you. Instead of forcing conversations, people want to start them with you. That is the hidden advantage of those who radiate silent strength. They attract by being, not by begging. The more you cultivate this inner certainty, the less you will feel the urge to compete for attention. Your power will not be in what you say, but in what people feel when they are around you, and that feeling will stay long after you've left the room. The body speaks long before the mouth does, and one of the clearest signals it gives is posture. How you carry yourself tells the world what you believe about yourself. When your shoulders are pulled back, your chest open, and your head held steady, you project strength without saying a word. When you slouch, shrink, or collapse inward, you project doubt and insecurity. People don't consciously analyze these details, but they feel them instantly. Your posture is the frame through which others view your worth. Standing tall is more than just a physical adjustment, it's a psychological declaration. The brain associates upright posture with confidence, competence, and authority. This isn't theory, it's biology. Your nervous system mirrors what your body communicates, and others' nervous systems mirror yours. When you expand, you trigger respect. When you collapse, you trigger dismissal. This is why the simplest shift in posture can change the way people respond to you in an instant. It's not arrogance, it's alignment with your inner strength. Every time you enter a room, you are broadcasting a message through your body. The way you walk signals whether you trust yourself. The way you sit signals whether you deserve space. The way you move signals whether you are in control. You don't need to be the most attractive, the tallest, or the strongest for people to feel your presence. What matters is the energy of certainty you project through your stance. Silent attraction begins with the discipline to carry yourself like someone who already deserves respect. Think about the way calm, confident individuals seem to command attention without asking for it. Their movements are deliberate, their posture unwavering, and people instinctively notice them. That's not coincidence. That's training. That's awareness. That's discipline. You can cultivate the same by making posture a habit, not an occasional correction. Every moment is an opportunity to remind yourself. Shoulders back, chin level, core engaged. These subtle adjustments become part of your identity, until confidence is no longer an act but a natural state. Posture does more than influence how others see you. It transforms how you see yourself. When you carry yourself with strength, your mind follows. When your body aligns with confidence, your thoughts align with power. This creates a cycle. Your posture fuels your psychology, and your psychology fuels your posture. That is why people who consistently hold themselves with strength radiate a presence that can't be faked. It's not a performance. It's who they are becoming. Silent attraction thrives on consistency. It's not enough to stand tall once in a while. It's about living with awareness every day, until your presence naturally speaks louder than your words. People notice when someone moves with certainty and balance. They can't help but respond to it because it awakens something they crave in themselves. When you show up with unshakable posture, you are silently telling the world, I respect myself, and you should too. This is where silent power takes root. It's not about dominating others. It's about refusing to diminish yourself. It's about choosing expansion over contraction, strength over hesitation, confidence over doubt, Every step, every stance, every breath becomes a signal of who you are. And when those signals align with self-respect, people will feel it. They won't need words to understand your value. They will sense it, they will remember it, and they will be drawn to it. The eyes reveal what words try to hide. They are the most powerful silent signal you possess, and when used with intention, they can transform how people perceive you. Eye contact is the bridge between presence and connection. It communicates confidence, certainty, and respect without a single sound leaving your lips. When your gaze is steady and calm, people feel your strength. When your gaze avoids theirs, people sense hesitation, doubt, or weakness. You are always sending a message, whether you realize it or not. True confidence is not about staring aggressively or dominating others with your eyes. It is about balance, holding contact long enough to show you are secure, but not so much that it becomes forceful. This balance is what makes people lean into you instead of pull away. The human brain is wired to search for trust in the eyes, and when you give that trust in a calm and measured way, you draw people closer without effort. Silence makes eye contact even more powerful. When you are not speaking, your gaze does the work of connection. A quiet presence combined with steady eyes makes people curious. They begin to feel that you are listening, that you are grounded, that you are not desperate for approval. That is rare, and anything rare becomes magnetic. People crave to be seen, and the act of giving them that feeling through your eyes creates an impact far stronger than words ever could. This is why those who master eye contact appear trustworthy, attractive, and influential. They are not scattered. They are not looking everywhere else. They are here, present, fully locked into the moment. That steadiness communicates control over self, and people instinctively respect it. A drifting gaze communicates insecurity. A distracted gaze communicates lack of value, but a focused, calm gaze communicates certainty. It says without sound, I know who I am. Training this habit requires awareness. When you speak, slow down and meet the eyes of the person in front of you. When you listen, let your gaze rest without judgment or tension. When you walk into a room, scan with calmness, not anxiety. Your eyes should move with intention, never frantic or scattered. The energy you radiate through your gaze becomes the lens through which others judge your entire presence. People want to feel acknowledged, not inspected. They want to feel understood, not judged. When your eye contact is warm yet strong, you give them both safety and intrigue. They feel seen, but they also feel a mystery within you that is not easily explained. That is the essence of silent attraction, the ability to give enough connection to draw people near, while holding enough power within yourself to keep them wanting more. Remember this truth: words can be ignored, but the eyes cannot. They leave imprints long after the moment has passed. They linger in memory, stirring emotions that words alone could never create. The person who speaks little but masters eye contact becomes unforgettable. Every silent glance becomes a statement of confidence, every steady gaze a reflection of strength. And when you carry that kind of presence, people don't just see you, they feel you. Attraction is not about filling space with endless words. It is about creating value in silence, about knowing that your presence carries enough weight without needing constant noise. The most magnetic individuals are not the ones who dominate every conversation, but the ones who know how to listen with intensity. Listening is not passive. It is one of the most active forms of power you can demonstrate. When you choose to hold back your words and give someone else the space to express themselves fully, you communicate strength, patience, and control. Most people are desperate to be heard. They are waiting for someone who will not interrupt, not rush to answer, not compete for attention. When you become that person, you separate yourself instantly. Silence in conversations is not emptiness, it is presence. By holding space for others, you create a rare and unforgettable experience. People walk away from you feeling lighter, understood, and more connected without you having to say much at all. That is silent attraction at its finest, making others feel important without performing or boasting. Pausing before you speak is a habit that changes how people perceive you. Quick, reactive words suggest insecurity. Measured, deliberate responses suggest wisdom. When you take a breath before answering, you are showing that you value your words enough to choose them carefully. You are also signaling that you are not pressured by silence, because silence itself is your ally. People lean into that pause. They anticipate what you are going to say next. The moment of silence gives weight to your words, making them land with more impact. This is how influence is built, not through quantity of speech, but through the quality of presence. The more you listen, the more power you hold. The less you rush, the more respect you gain. The quieter your confidence, the louder your impact becomes. In a world where everyone fights to be heard, the one who listens becomes the one everyone seeks. It is not about staying mute, but about mastering the rhythm of communication, knowing when to speak and when to remain silent, when to let others pour out their energy, and when to anchor the conversation with calm certainty. Silence in social interactions does something words never could. It creates mystery. When you are not quick to reveal everything about yourself, people wonder. They sense depth. They feel there is more beneath the surface. Curiosity is one of the strongest forms of attraction, and silence feeds it. By speaking less and listening more, you give people the gift of curiosity. You allow them to lean toward you, to ask more, to want more. That is how silent presence transforms into silent magnetism. The discipline of speaking less is not about withholding value. It is about amplifying it. Every word becomes intentional. Every response carries weight. Every pause builds tension. And in that tension lies power. People are not drawn to those who scatter their energy through constant talking. They are drawn to those who control the room by doing less, yet meaning more. When you master this, you will find that your silence becomes louder than most people's noise, and your quiet presence becomes unforgettable. Movement is one of the clearest reflections of what is happening inside you. The pace of your gestures, the way your hands flow, the rhythm of your walk, all of these reveal whether you are grounded or unsettled. People sense energy in motion, and they make judgments before they even realize it. Fast, restless, jittery movements send signals of nervousness, insecurity, and lack of control. Slow, calm, and deliberate movements, on the other hand, project certainty, stability, and presence. The body cannot hide what the mind feels, and others can read that truth instantly. Attraction grows when your movements show that you are not rushed by life. A person who moves with precision, who does not waste energy, radiates self-mastery. It sends a powerful message. I am in control of myself, and by extension, I can be trusted. That sense of control is magnetic because it is rare. Most people rush, fumble, and scatter their energy, constantly betraying their own anxiety. When you embody calmness in your movements, you break that pattern, and people notice without even realizing why. Deliberate movement communicates a sense of authority. Think of how stillness commands attention. When you are grounded, you don't need to flail to be seen. Your presence fills space naturally, because restraint is a form of power. Quick, erratic actions weaken perception, while calm precision strengthens it. Every gesture, every step, becomes a silent statement of confidence. You are saying without words, I am comfortable in my own skin. I do not need to rush, and I belong exactly where I am. This does not mean you must move slowly at all times. It means your movements must align with intention. Even small things, placing your phone down instead of tossing it, walking into a room with measured steps instead of rushing, gesturing with purpose instead of nervous fidgeting, make an impact on how others feel about you. The psychology is simple. Calm energy is contagious. People mirror what they sense. When you radiate steadiness, you give others permission to relax in your presence. That relaxation translates into trust and attraction. Practicing calm precision requires awareness. Notice your breathing, because breath controls movement. Shallow breaths create jittery actions, while deep, steady breathing creates fluid control. Notice your pace, because the world will try to push you faster. Resist that pressure. Move at a rhythm that communicates certainty. Notice your stillness, because pauses are powerful. Being still when others are restless sets you apart immediately. The gift of calm, precise movement is that it creates a silent aura of leadership. People instinctively feel safer around those who are in control of themselves. They lean toward that energy because it represents stability in a chaotic world. You don't need to speak for people to know you are someone they can rely on. Your movements alone communicate it. Silent attraction is not about forcing attention. It is about embodying qualities people cannot ignore. When your movements are aligned with calmness and intention, you create an atmosphere where others feel drawn to you without explanation. It is the unspoken power of self-mastery, the ability to influence without effort, and the skill of commanding presence without a word. This is what makes you magnetic, your silence amplified by the way you move with purpose. True strength is not measured by how much noise you make when things go right, but by how steady you remain when things go wrong. Emotional control is one of the most powerful traits a person can display, and it speaks louder than any words ever could. When others lose themselves in anger, fear, or anxiety, The one who stays composed immediately stands out. Calmness under pressure is a rare signal of authority, and people are naturally drawn to it. Attraction is not only about appearance or presence, it is deeply rooted in trust. People feel safe around those who can control themselves. If your emotions are easily shaken, if every challenge pulls you into chaos, others sense instability. But when your silence remains steady, when your energy stays grounded even in the middle of storms, you radiate a quiet power that cannot be ignored. Emotional control tells the world, I am unshaken, and nothing outside of me defines who I am inside. This is not about suppressing feelings, it is about mastering them. To feel anger and still choose calm, to feel fear and still choose courage, to feel doubt and still stand tall. That choice is where silent magnetism is born. Because people admire those who rise above their impulses. They respect those who don't allow temporary emotions to dictate permanent actions. Every time you control your response, you show strength. And strength, in its calmest form, is irresistible. The science is clear. Emotions are contagious. When you panic, others panic. When you stay calm, others feel calm. This is why leaders are remembered, not for their loudest speeches, but for their ability to create stability in chaos. Silent attraction works the same way. The one who carries composure becomes the anchor in any situation. Others lean on that energy, sometimes without realizing it, because it provides relief in a world where most people are constantly overwhelmed. Practicing emotional control begins with awareness. Notice the moments where you would normally react quickly, snapping back, raising your voice, showing frustration. Instead, slow down, breathe, allow silence to replace reaction. That pause is not weakness, it is strength. It shows that you are bigger than the moment. It shows that you are the master of yourself, not a prisoner of impulses. The more you practice this discipline, the more naturally it becomes part of who you are. Imagine the impact of being that person, the one who remains steady while others lose their ground. People would not only notice you, they would respect you. They would feel a quiet admiration that grows every time you respond with calm power instead of chaos. Silent attraction is built in those moments of restraint. It is not about what you show when life is easy, but about what you radiate when life is hard. Control over your emotions is control over your life. It is the ability to face anything without breaking, to respond with clarity instead of confusion, to inspire confidence without needing to raise your voice. That is the kind of power that makes people trust you, follow you, and feel drawn to you. When you embody emotional stability, your silence speaks louder than every outburst in the room, and your calm presence becomes unforgettable. What you wear is never just fabric on your skin. It is the outer reflection of the respect you hold for yourself. Before you speak, before you move, before you are even noticed for your energy, people's eyes register the choices you make in your appearance. Cleanliness, fit, and subtle precision send messages that words cannot touch. A sharp and intentional style doesn't scream for attention, it whispers confidence, and that whisper is often louder than the shout of those who try too hard to be seen. Attraction is deeply tied to perception. When your appearance shows care, people associate you with discipline. When your clothes fit well and your style is simple yet deliberate, people associate you with self-awareness. The psychology is undeniable. Those who invest in their appearance without overcompensating signal self-respect. That respect is contagious. Others sense it, and they instinctively mirror it back to you. Silent attraction thrives when your style works for you, not when you use style to beg for attention. This is not about being expensive, flashy, or trend-driven. It is about alignment. Clothes that fit, colors that flatter, grooming that shows discipline. These elements do not speak loudly, but they speak consistently. They say, I care enough to present myself with pride. People feel that message without you saying a word. Subtle precision leaves room for mystery, while overcomplication looks like desperation. The most attractive individuals are rarely the loudest dressers. They are the ones whose simplicity feels effortless, yet powerful. Your style should reflect who you are becoming, not who you are trying to impress. When you dress with intention, you create an aura that supports your presence. Your clothes move with you, not against you. They highlight confidence instead of masking insecurity. Every detail, from the neatness of your shoes to the fit of your jacket, reinforces the image of someone who values themselves deeply. That image lingers long after the first glance. The discipline of subtle style also shapes how you feel internally. When you put care into your appearance, your posture sharpens, your movements slow, and your confidence strengthens. You walk differently because you know you are aligned with your best self. That inner shift radiates outward. People notice not only the clothes, but the energy those clothes inspire within you. Silent attraction is not only about what others see, it is about what you feel within that makes others respond to you. When you show up with intentional style, you communicate without speaking. You say that you respect the environment you enter, that you respect the people you meet, and above all, that you respect yourself. That self-respect is magnetic because it is rare in a world where so many neglect the details. People are naturally drawn to those who pay attention, because attention to detail in appearance suggests attention to detail in life. Silent magnetism is built piece by piece, and style is one of those pieces you control completely. You don't need excess, you don't need flash. You need clarity, precision, and pride in how you present yourself. That clarity makes others trust you, respect you, and want to be near you. It turns every silent moment into an introduction before you ever say your name. Presence is not only about how you look or how you move, it is also about how you occupy the space around you. The way you use space sends a powerful signal about your confidence. People who shrink themselves, who cross their arms tightly, who hunch into corners, project insecurity without even realizing it. But those who stand tall, who allow themselves to take up room naturally, project strength and authority. You don't need to force it. You don't need to exaggerate. It's about holding your space with quiet certainty, as if you belong wherever you are. Humans are wired to interpret body positioning as a reflection of dominance and confidence. When someone walks into a room and claims space with calmness, they instantly shift the social dynamic. Others notice without being able to explain why. It is not about arrogance, it is about comfort within yourself. The person who is comfortable in their own body and unafraid to exist fully is magnetic. People gravitate toward them because their presence feels certain and secure. When you shrink, you signal self-doubt. When you expand naturally, you signal trust in yourself. And people trust those who trust themselves. This is why the way you position yourself in a group matters. Standing grounded instead of fidgeting, sitting upright instead of collapsing into a chair, relaxing your shoulders and allowing your body to open instead of folding inward. These small choices are silent declarations of confidence. They say, I deserve to be here. I am not hiding. I am not begging. I am present. And that presence is enough. Silence amplifies spatial confidence. When you are not trying to dominate with words, the way you hold space becomes the message. People feel it more intensely because nothing distracts from it. Your calm stillness, your steady posture, your refusal to shrink becomes a magnet. Others can sense that you are not trying to prove yourself. You are already assured of your value. That assurance pulls people closer because it awakens the part of them that longs for the same certainty. The power of space is also the power of boundaries. When you occupy space with confidence, you send the message that your energy is not to be disrespected. People become careful with how they approach you, not because you are unkind, but because they sense you have standards. That unspoken boundary is attractive. It creates respect before you even speak, because respect is tied to presence, and presence is tied to how boldly you allow yourself to exist. Start to notice how you move through the world. Do you rush past people without awareness? Do you collapse into yourself when you feel unsure? Or do you stand with intention, breathe with control, and allow your presence to expand into the environment? The difference is subtle, but the effect is profound. One repels, the other attracts. Silent attraction is not about being loud, it is about being undeniable. When you hold space with certainty, you don't have to ask for permission to be noticed. People notice because your energy commands it. They notice because your stillness speaks volumes. They notice because you have chosen not to shrink. And in that choice lies the unshakable power that makes you unforgettable. Energy is the unspoken language that everyone understands. Long before words are exchanged, people feel you. They sense whether you radiate calm certainty or anxious restlessness. They pick up on whether your presence lifts the atmosphere or drains it. This is why protecting and cultivating your energy is one of the most powerful forms of influence. You don't need to announce who you are when your energy already communicates it. You don't need to demand attention when your very presence holds it without effort. The mind and body are deeply connected, and the state of your inner world always leaks into the outer one. If you are filled with self-doubt, it shows in the way your eyes avoid others. If you are consumed by fear, it seeps into your tone and posture. But when you discipline your inner state, when you ground yourself in strength and clarity, that energy becomes unshakable. Others cannot ignore it because it penetrates the room before you even speak. True attraction is not about appearance, it is about the vibration you carry. Silence amplifies this energy. In moments when you choose not to over-explain, not to chase approval, not to beg for attention, your energy becomes sharper, cleaner, more magnetic. Silence cuts away the noise and allows the purity of your presence to be felt fully. People lean in, not because of what you're saying, but because of what you're radiating. They want to be near you, not for your words, but for the certainty they feel in your quiet strength. Every interaction becomes an exchange of energy. If you constantly give away your peace to please others, you weaken your power. But when you protect your calm, when you refuse to let negativity penetrate your core, you become unshakable. People respect those who cannot be rattled, those who can remain centered while chaos swirls around them. That level of composure is rare, and what is rare is always valuable. Your silence becomes a fortress. Your calm becomes a magnet. Confidence is not about being the loudest voice in the room. It's about being the most stable presence in it. When your energy is rooted, you don't need to fight for validation because you are no longer dependent on it. You walk into any environment knowing that you don't need to prove anything. You simply are. And in that being, in that refusal to bend to insecurity, lies a power that others cannot help but notice. People are drawn to energy that feels safe, strong, and steady. They are repelled by desperation, neediness, or instability. This is why the most magnetic people are often the ones who say the least. Their silence is not emptiness, it is fullness. It is the fullness of someone who has nothing to prove, nothing to chase, and nothing to lose. That fullness radiates as confidence, and confidence always attracts. Your task is not to seek attention, but to cultivate energy so solid, so grounded, that attention naturally seeks you. Let your silence speak. Let your presence announce you, and let your energy be the reason people remember you long after you've left the room. The world tries to convince you that your worth comes from external recognition. But the truth is that the most unshakable form of power is self-recognition. When you no longer rely on applause, when you no longer wait for permission, when you no longer crave validation, you step into a freedom that few ever reach. This freedom is the foundation of real confidence, because it is not built on shifting opinions, it is built on an inner certainty that cannot be stolen. You stop needing to prove yourself, because you already know yourself. This shift transforms the way you move through life. Instead of chasing approval, you begin attracting respect. Instead of seeking acceptance, you radiate such strength that others naturally align with you. It is not arrogance, it is the clarity of someone who no longer negotiates with their own value. When you stop doubting who you are, the world begins to respond differently. Opportunities open, people listen. Environments bend to your presence, not because you demanded it, but because you carried yourself as if you were already enough. The mind becomes sharper when it is freed from insecurity. Energy that was once wasted on worry now fuels focus, determination, and growth. You no longer scatter your strength trying to control how others perceive you. You channel it into building, into mastering, into becoming. This is where progress accelerates, not in the noise of seeking validation, but in the silence of self-belief. In that silence, every action becomes intentional, every step becomes aligned, and every effort compounds into undeniable results. Discipline strengthens this inner power. Every time you resist the urge to explain yourself unnecessarily, you train your mind to value silence over insecurity. Every time you choose calm over reaction, you teach yourself that composure is stronger than chaos. Every time you put in the work when no one is watching, you reinforce that your worth does not depend on recognition, it depends on the standard you hold for yourself. And the higher your standard, the more magnetic your presence becomes. This is why real confidence is quiet. It does not need to announce itself, because it is already alive in every movement, every choice, every expression. The person who is rooted in self-certainty carries an aura that cannot be faked. It is the weight of authenticity, the energy of someone who has mastered themselves before trying to master the world. That authenticity draws people in, because it is rare, and what is rare is always powerful. Your power multiplies when you stop searching outside and start cultivating inside. When you wake up each day with the intention of strengthening your mind, protecting your energy, and holding your standards, you begin to live differently. You stop needing to compete with anyone else, because your only competition is who you were yesterday. That is where greatness is forged, in the daily decision to refine, to rise, to silence doubt, and to let your presence speak louder than your words ever could. And when you live this way, you no longer chase life. Life starts moving toward you. You become the magnet, the force, the presence that shifts the atmosphere, not because you demanded it, but because you embodied it. Strength is not measured by how loud you are, but by how unshakable you remain when everything around you is uncertain. The ones who rise are not always the most talented, not always the most gifted, but the most disciplined, the most consistent, the ones who refuse to break even when breaking seems easier. True power is built in silence, in the choices you make when no one sees, in the battles you win within yourself before the world ever notices your existence. That is where resilience is born. Inside, where no applause exists and no recognition is guaranteed. Every time you push through resistance, you create proof for yourself. Every time you finish what you promised, you build another layer of trust with your own mind. Confidence is not something handed to you. It is earned through repeated evidence that you can rely on yourself. And when you can rely on yourself, fear loses its grip, doubt fades into background noise, and excuses dissolve into irrelevance. You stop negotiating with hesitation because you have already shown yourself, again and again, that you are capable of more than your mind once believed. The danger is not failure. The danger is hesitation, distraction, and the temptation to settle for comfort over growth. Failure sharpens you, but hesitation weakens you. Every time you delay, every time you make excuses, every time you wait for the perfect moment, you train your mind to accept mediocrity. But when you act, when you step forward, when you take responsibility regardless of fear, you create momentum. And momentum is the most unstoppable force in the world. There is a difference between existing and living. To exist is to drift, to let circumstances decide your future, to let time pass without direction. To live is to take control, to carve your path, to create meaning where others see nothing. Living requires effort, intentionality, and the courage to break free from the invisible chains of comfort. The moment you decide that your life will no longer be dictated by outside expectations, you step into the rare space where true freedom exists. You must understand that every distraction is a test, every temptation is designed to pull you away from your higher self, and every time you choose discipline over impulse, you strengthen the walls protecting your vision. Focus is the weapon that separates those who achieve from those who dream. Dreams without focus remain fantasies. Dreams with focus become reality. This is why you cannot afford to move without clarity. The clearer your vision, the stronger your discipline. The stronger your discipline, the louder your results. And the louder your results, the quieter your need to prove anything. You rise without noise. You achieve without validation. You become untouchable because your life itself becomes evidence of your dedication. When you master yourself at this level, nothing external has the power to control you. Not doubt, not failure, not rejection, not fear. Because you realize that everything outside is temporary, but what you build within is permanent. That is the essence of greatness, not in seeking approval, not in chasing recognition, but in becoming so unshakably strong within, that the outside world cannot help but recognize you. You are not here to blend in. You are not here to settle. You are here to rise above the noise, to silence every doubt, and to transform into the kind of person whose presence demands respect without saying a single word. The greatest breakthroughs are never born from comfort. They come when you demand more of yourself than the world expects, when you rise above excuses, when you refuse to let weakness dictate your choices. Every second of hesitation is a signal that fear still controls you, but every act of courage is proof that you are stronger than your doubts. You do not need permission to step into your power. You do not need validation to choose discipline over distraction. All you need is the decision to act, and once that decision is made, everything else falls into alignment. The truth is, most people sabotage themselves not because they are incapable, but because they choose comfort over consistency. They underestimate the compounding effect of small actions, the daily discipline that silently builds unstoppable momentum. You cannot cheat this process. You cannot shortcut greatness. You must earn it with every choice, every sacrifice, every day you refuse to quit. And the longer you commit, the more undeniable your results become. Success is not about intensity for a moment. It is about endurance over time. Anyone can burn bright for a short while, but only the ones who master consistency stand unshakable in the end. Discipline is not punishment, it is liberation. It frees you from regret, from wasted potential, from the pain of knowing you could have been more but chose less.